Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Season 3, Week 20 of the DC Sports Digest. A very busy week this week, lots of transactions, and also unfortunately lots of losing. So without further ado, let's just get started. Start with the Nats. They beat the Mets twice in spring training. They also beat Venezuela in an exhibition. They lost to the Marlins, Astros, and also tied the Astros in their second game. Harry Forts had a pretty good spring training. Also hit a home run in a World Baseball Classic exhibition. And in Great Britain's first game versus Mexico, also had a home run. They were pretty competitive in that game. It was 1-1 at one point. They unfortunately lost 8-2. Coming up this week, the Nats have a couple more spring training games. Two versus the Astros, one versus the Mets, Marlins, Cardinals, and Yankees. And we're starting out the World Baseball Classic for two of our Nats players, Harry Ford and Matt Mervis. So for Harry Ford in Great Britain, they just lost to Mexico, like I said. They have games versus the U.S., Italy, and Brazil. Israel and Matt Mervis have games versus Venezuela, Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, and Netherlands. And the U.S. is playing against Brazil, Great Britain, Mexico, and Italy. That's all I have for the Nats. I'll let you stay tuned for more updates on the World Baseball Classic. On the Wizards, they lost to the Raptors, Rockets, Magic, and Jazz. Four more losses. They've had a pretty long losing streak. I think they're still fourth worst. For lottery, Keyshawn George unfortunately partially tore his UCL. Luckily, it doesn't seem super serious. He'll be out 3 weeks. We'll see if he comes back this season or not. There's a chance they could just leave him out. Just say for injury management. To help our tank, I guess. Also see what happens to Anthony Davis. I think he was finally cleared for the first time for all on-court drills, but I don't know if he's gonna come back or not. I think there's a chance both of these guys come back for like the last 5 or 10 games or so. So we'll see what happens to that. Bilal had a really good game versus the Rockets. Season high 23. Sharif Cooper actually had a career high 21 points. Pretty respectable loss to the Rockets. Trae Young actually got ejected before his first game. He was arguing a call. It was a pretty obvious push that the refs missed. So he went on the court and argued with it, and he got ejected. But it was great to see him get so hyped up for his guys. Speaking of Trae Young, he had a really solid debut versus the Jazz. It was great to see him actually in action. Despite the limited minutes, he played 20 minutes or so, which is still great to see. He had scored 12 points, 6 assists. I think he really helped his teammates out. Really big energy boost for the team, so that was great to see. Julian Reese also had a really amazing game. They just got him on a two-way contract. First 3 NBA games this week. It's really solid. And against the Jazz, he had 18 points and 20 rebounds. That's a crazy double-double to see. Crazy stat line. He's also another great energy guy. I don't know if he'll be in our future, but it's great to see him ball out, especially being from Maryland. So that's really cool to see. But yeah, the rest of coming up next week, we have games versus the Pelicans, Heat, and Magic. See if we get any more wins or if we continue tanking in the draft lottery. On to the Caps, they lost to the Canadians and the Mammoth. They're at 69 points, and the playoffs are looking more and more unlikely. Before we get to all the trade deadline chaos, Ovi scored 2 and lost to the Canadians. It was a pretty bad blowout. Jacob Chicken got 2 points against the Mammoth, but we could not complete the comeback. Had a really slow start on that one. Almost came back, but couldn't get it done. The first move was in-house. We re-signed Ethan Frank. Pretty friendly contracts. That was great. We made 2 unfortunate trades from 2 guys who were on that 2018 Stanley Cup team. First one was trading Nick Dowd to Vegas for a 2029 first-round pick, 2027 third-round pick, and goalie prospect Jester Vickman. And then we unfortunately traded John Carlson, who was new with the team, I think like 17 years, to the Ducks for a conditional 2026 first-round or 2027 first-round pick, depending on how well the Anaheim Ducks do this year, and also a 2027 third-round pick. I was really sad to see these guys go. Only Ovi and Tom Wilson, they're the last 2 from the 2018 Stanley Cup team, which is kind of crazy. A lot better than the Nats, who lost all their players from their championship team, but it's still really sad. These guys are just huge cornerstones to our team. I think the locker room and all the players were really upset about these. I'm pretty upset about them too. It's just sad emotionally as a fan. But from the team and business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. We got a lot of value for these guys. And it was time to finally start retooling, which is what we're going to do. So obviously, we're probably not going to make the playoffs this year, but we'll start a little mini rebuild and retool as we start getting some more prospects. Cole Hudson can potentially come up at the end of the season. Ilya Protas soon, Andrew Crystal. There's so many guys we have to completely retool this team. And we have really good players like Chikrin and Tom Wilson and Logan Thompson. Like, there are players already on this team. So hopefully it'll be a pretty short rebuild, and we'll be back to form very soon, in a couple more years. We also made a couple of trades at the end of the deadline for some players. Probably just some fill-ins. We got Timothy Liljegren from the Sharks for a 2026 fourth round pick, and David Kampf from the Maple Leafs for a 2026 sixth round pick. These guys are kind of just fill-ins. I don't know too much about them, but they're just cheap fill-ins for not too much giving up, I guess. So see how those guys turn out, see how the draft picks turn out, and hopefully these are the right moves. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Nick Dowd and John Carlson, so much. Appreciate all that you guys have done for our franchise. Thank you for helping to bring a championship to DC. And good luck in Vegas and Anaheim. Coming up this week, we still have more games to play. After all that trade chaos, we have games versus the Bruins, Flames, Flyers, and Sabres. That's all I have for the Caps. On the Commanders, started making a lot more transactions right before free agency starts next week. They officially released Marshawn Lattimore. It was unfortunate that failed and that trade failed. But we saved a lot of cap space this year. So we to hopefully spend a lot more money in free agency. We also extended guard Nick Allegretti to a 2-year deal. We re-signed a lot of defensive linemen: Dietrich Weiss, Shai Tuttle, and Jake Jackson. We re-signed kicker Jake Moody, and probably the most exciting re-sign for me was Traylon Burks. He had a pretty solid year last year, and hopefully he can continue to build on that. Also, the coaching staff was finalized. So yeah, just a couple of moves in-house to prepare for free agency. The tampering period is March 9th on Monday, but the deals are not official until Wednesday, but you'll start seeing things pop up on Monday. So starting at 12 o'clock. So stay tuned. Hopefully the Commanders are busy in free agency. Obviously, with a lot of holes, but I want to fill in as many of them as we can in free agency. I hope we actually spend a lot of money because obviously we don't have that many draft picks. So as long as we can just get some good players in free agency in the draft, it seems pretty obvious, but it's something we need to do. Yeah, as long as we do that, we will be hopefully set for an improvement next season. That's all I have for the Commanders. On the other DC sports news, we lost to DC United lost to Austin. Their next game is tomorrow versus Miami. DC Power has games this week versus Brooklyn and Dallas, and the Washington Spirit will start their season next Friday versus Portland. So a lot of DC soccer news. On our weekly awards, the game of the week is the Nationals beating the Mets 7-4. My player of the week is Julian Reese, who had basically a double-double, 9.6 points and like 10.5 rebounds in his first 3 games. So that's great to see. And my team of the week is the Nationals, who were the best of the not very good teams this week, going 500, 2-1 record. That's all I have in this video, and thanks for watching. Make sure to check out my first mock draft out now. I talk about the 7th overall pick and trying to fill in the rest of those very few picks that we have. So yeah, check that out and hope you enjoy. And stay tuned for a couple more. And check out the Instagram and like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.